Right, I'm working on this 2007 GMC Acadia, and we're going to be replacing the starter on this today. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the replacement I got here. Alright, I've decided to go with a used replacement. I believe this had like 40,000 miles on it. I got this from eBay. They have lots of starters on there. So that's what I'm going to go with. It's OEM. So we're going to go ahead and just get the hood up here and get started. Okay, now you will note that I do have it on ramps, and that's going to facilitate getting to some stuff that we need to get to on the bottom here. So we're going to go ahead at first, and we're going to get the battery disconnected in here. Okay, so you're going to come in here behind this passenger seat, and you've got this little panel here that pulls up, and then this is supposed to have like a little screw. I believe it's a torque screw. Goes right in there. So it's going to be setting like that, and you have to take that torque screw out, and then you can lift that piece up and out of the way. So that's all there is to that. And then we can get on this 10 millimeter right here. We're going to remove this negative. So it just, you don't have to usually move this a lot. It's got a little beveled special nut. As it screws down on here, basically it pulls this piece right here over because it's tightening down, and it's pulling that piece over, so it tightens it up. So sometimes it usually doesn't take a lot here. So go a little bit more with it. All right, so there we go. So we got that. Okay, and you're going to need something to stand on to get up here. In this case, I'm just using a brick to get a little bit of height here. And so now we can kind of get down in here and get to some things. Okay, so the very first thing, we're going to take our little oil spout cap off there. We're going to pop this piece up and off of here. Just go ahead and set that aside. Now we've got a connector right here for this O2 sensor. We're going to go ahead and pull that little safety catch back. That just pulls back, and then you lift up slightly on that. Give that a little tug. That'll pop right off there like that. Now it may be kind of clipped up here as well, but mine is not. Now it goes without saying that you do not want to be doing this if you have recently been driving this. Make sure this thing has had plenty of time to cool off, and everything's completely cold. Engine, exhaust, everything. Okay, now I've just got a little micro ratchet with the 10 millimeter, and I'm going to be taking out these 10 millimeters you see here on this heat shield. There's 3 of them. Now don't be surprised if you break these, and you may also need a bigger ratchet, you know, depending on if these have been removed before. I've had this off and doused it down liberally with anti-seize, so I know that this one's going to come off, but you know, don't be surprised if it hasn't been messed with, that they may not come out too easy. So I'm going to go ahead and remove those 3 10 millimeters. Okay, so here's those 3 10 millimeters out of that heat shield down here. Now we just have to kind of work this out somehow. So there's not a whole lot of room to do anything, and that's with pretty much any vehicle. So you got to find that magic combination to get stuff loose. Okay, so now what we're going to do, you can see we've got 3 nuts. Those are 15 millimeters. Now we're going to use a swivel and an extension, and we're going to get up here and get to those. So we're fixing to break those loose next. Now you'll notice, like I said, this has got anti-seize. Plan on these being tight, and you're going to have to use a big 1/2 inch, you know, extended handle or something. These are going to be tight to get loose. So we're going to come from up here, come down in with an extension and a swivel, and we're going to take those 3 15 millimeters loose before we go any farther. Okay, this is my setup with my extension. It's a long handle coming down in here. Now you'll be able to get to each and every one of these with this swivel, no problem. You can see I can get to the back one as well. And getting these loose, I said they're tight, but this is going to be the least of your trouble, getting these 3 loose. So I'm going to go ahead and just take these 3 out. This thing ain't going nowhere. There's another bracket that has a 15 millimeter bolt down there, and it's also connected to the exhaust as well. So this is not going anywhere with these 3 15 millimeter nuts out. Okay, we got those 3 out. Now we're going to go ahead and go down underneath the vehicle, and we're going to do a little work under here. Okay, as you come underneath by this pipe right here, you see where the O2 sensor is. There is a 15 millimeter right there, has a bracket, and we're gonna just go ahead and get on that. I know that wire, that O2 sensor is right in the way there, but that's what we're going to take you out. This is just a little short bolt. Now what I like to do when I'm putting this back is I kind of get this bolt started, kind of just snug down finger tight, and then I go up top and I torque the top ones to get that into position. And then I'll come back down here and I'll tighten this. Okay, so I want to just finish getting this here out with my finger. Okay, there's that bolt out. So now what we got to do is we got to get on these here. Now I have since replaced these, at least this bolt, because they snapped off in the past. And when they snap, you have to knock those studs out of there and put you another bolt in. Said I'm really generous with the anti-seize. I don't want to be dealing with this when I have to take stuff apart again. So yours will have a stud coming through here if it ain't been broken, just like on this other side right here. It's just got the stud, and these are 13s, like I said. I don't know if that's what the original, that's what's on this one. Alright, so I'm going to be cautious. I don't think this is going anywhere. You see the gasket right in between these here. It's not a bad idea to replace that while you're at it. And the upper. The upper's more of just a ring. It just kind of rusts and deteriorates over time. Okay, so I believe I want to get me a glove before I wind up pinching my fingers and getting really mad here. Okay, to get slack to move this catalyst, we've got another nut right back here on this brace. And we're going to take it loose right here. Like I said, plan on, if you haven't messed with these, this stuff's going to be really rusty, hitting it with some PB Blaster or WD-40. Just depending on the rust. And sometimes, you know, you go to trying to take stuff loose and you create more problems, but you just have to kind of deal with it as you go. But okay, so we got that loose. Let's see if it's going to allow any more movement here. Give me a second. Okay, I wiggled it around in the right position there, got it down off the studs, and got it where I can actually move it around here now. I just didn't have it turned the right way to do what I needed to do. But now we do have it loose here. Okay, so what I've got is I've just kind of laid this over here. Now if I wanted to take that out, which I could, then it's going to require me taking this brace here and removing the exhaust. So we got the brace, got bolts there, and then we also have to get it loose back here. Now if I did that, I could probably, and if I take this loose right here, I may be able to get enough slack to pull it on back a little more. But either way, I'm going to have to take some more things loose. At the very least, I'd have to remove this section, which I'd have to take it loose there, and I'd have to take it loose down there and pull it back out of the way if I want to get this out of here. So we're going to leave it, and I don't think it's going to be a problem. But anyway, if we look up here, as you can see, both of those bolts that are holding this starter in place here. You can see the lower one right here. Let's see if we can get in there. There's the lower one. And then as we come up here, see, there's our upper one right there by where our solenoid. Now I don't need to get the wires at this point. What I need to get is both of these bolts, which are very easy to reach up here and get to. I'm going to be using my just my little slim ratchet, and we're going to get up here. We're going to go right up through here, and I probably don't need this long deep socket, so I'm going to get a shorter one. But we're going to go right up there, and we're going to take both of those bolts out, just coming right through the bottom. So you could use anything you want. You could use a stubby one, but that's what I'm going to be using because they're going to be rather tight. But anyways, once you get them loose, they come out very easily by hand. And you can see that I'm reaching this very easy. It's like no problem. Okay, I misspoke. These are 15s, they're not 13s. And we're going to go ahead and... Okay, so here I am on this lower one. So this is really very easy to get to. Now we're going to get on the upper, if it will focus in here. So most of the time it's just trying to get room to move your ratchets and stuff. And I don't have a whole lot of room here. So I may have to get a shorter one here to get this upper one. It's moving it, but it's not moving it very much. But it is getting it loose. I can switch over to a more stubby, and I may even be able to just remove them with my fingers. So that one there is loose, and the lower one is pretty loose. So I'm going to get in here with a shorter ratchet. Okay, so I've got a little bit of an extension on that top one, so it's getting out past that little protective cover there because my ratchet was wanting to hit, but this seems to be working pretty good. I just remembered that I'd used Loctite on these the last time I fooled with it, so they're not just spinning out by hand very easily. Okay, so there's that top one out of there, and now I just got to get down here and finish removing this one on the bottom here. Okay, on the bottom I'm just using a little 15mm ratchet wrench here. It's working out about the best. So we'll just finish taking that completely out there. Okay, there's both of our bolts out. You can see they are the same length. And now we're going to try to work our starter out of here. Now, we do have a knock sensor back there, so we're going to be cautious. Okay, so we got it loose. We pushed it back, and we're just going to kind of feed it down this way a minute and take a look. And you can see we've got a connector right there. What we have to do is take a pick tool and actually push down on that. And then we've got a, I believe it's a 13. Let me see if I can get this where you can see it here. Get around here. So here's this, there's that clip right there. If it'll focus in, all you do is push down on that with a pick tool and then push that back. So you push down on that tab and then push it back. Okay, so there it is, push back. I was just using this little pick tool. Push down, push that back. Now I noticed the one they sent me, they actually broke this tab right here, so I'm probably going to have to get creative and tape it on there or something, because that's the last thing you want popping loose on your starter. So if we can get it turned here, I can show you the other one. We've got that like protective shroud that's kind of covering it, but this right here is the 13 that we need to get. Now I'm just going to get my little micro ratchet and I'm going to flip this thing back around and I'm going to take this loose right down here. And I suppose a ratchet wrench may work too, so I may attempt that first. Okay, the little ratchet wrench done the trick, and see I just spun it the rest of the way off by hand. So now this will spin right off of there. Now we'll just make sure to put that back on before we go to doing anything else. You can see we didn't take that cover off. There's really no need in it. It didn't get in my way. So we'll go ahead and get the other one over here. Okay, and as I said, this is what happens when people don't know how to take a connector off. So they broke it here. So I'm going to have to tape mine. Yours will just clip right on without any issue, but I'm going to have to tape mine to make sure it's not coming loose. Because I said, if it comes loose, as you can see, it's not very easy to get in there. It ain't like you can just stick your arm in there and put it back on. So we absolutely don't want it coming loose. It's not so easy to replace this. It's all made together. So we'll have to make sure we tape that on there where it can't be coming off. Okay, so the first thing we did was we got the nut on the wire, positioned it, and we just tightened that up with our little ratchet wrench there. It's working really good. We've slipped in that connector. You see, I'm going to have to tape it with some good tape. I mean, it feels nice and solid plugging in, but with vibrations and stuff, it could come off there. So we want to make sure that we get that secured where it's not going to easily come out of there. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, then I'm going to just feed it back up into place. Other than that, this has not been a problem for me at all here. Okay, so here we go, back up into place here. Very easy to feed this back in, and we're just going to get these bolts started here by hand once we get this pushed back over here. So like I said, I just taped that connector. I feel like it's pretty solid there, that it's not going to come loose. So we're going to go ahead and get our two starter bolts started here. Okay, I want to point something out, if I can show you. This starter has a little bit of a nub right there. So when you're putting this back in, you got to watch, because it's only going to kind of fit in there a certain way as you're putting. Otherwise, it's going to try to cock on you as you're trying to angle it up in there. So just have to kind of work with it. But other than that, it's no problem getting it back in. Okay, I just tightened those down really good and tight. If you want to fuss with torque, I wouldn't go more than 35 foot-pounds on those. So right now I'm just getting ready. I'm going to get our catalyst back into place here, and then we're going to replace the nut here. And we're about getting our bolts back in here, and the bolt going in our brace here. Okay, so I'm just putting the bolt here to kind of hold that, and said I don't know what to tell you as far as like getting this into place. You know, the bracket has to go here. You just kind of feed it and you twist it and work it around until you get it into the holes up in the top of the manifold, and then you just slip it back in here. It's no problem. There's really, you just have to kind of feel it out and find the best way for you to work it around. But you can see that I've done it with what room I have here, and it's not been any problem at all. So I'm going to push this up a little bit. I'm going to snug this down just by hand, and we're going to go ahead and work on, I think, getting these bolts into this lower part and putting the nut back on here. So we have that out of the way. I'm not going to tighten these though just yet. Okay, go ahead and take the time to put you some anti-seize on these bolts that are going on the lower part of the catalyst as well. Okay, so we back up top, we got the anti-seize on those studs. We're going to go ahead and just start placing our 15 millimeters back on. I'm going to snug these down to about 40 foot-pounds. Okay, so we're torquing these down, and after we get that, we're going to go ahead and make this connection for our O2. And just don't forget to put your little safety tab back in there. Safety lock. So actually, I forgot my heat shield, so I'll be taking that back loose. But anyways, we just don't want to forget that. Okay, that looks more like it. Now we're going to go ahead and put a little bit of anti-seize on these little 10 millimeter bolts that are holding this heat shield. So we're going to go ahead and get those in next. We'll just have the 3. Okay, this is the anti-seize I'm using. This stuff will last forever. Okay, so we're all finished up here. We got the heat shield all snugged down, 1/4 inch ratchet. Those don't have to be terribly tight. We're going to crawl back underneath. We're going to finish tightening the brace, and then the 13's going into the exhaust, and then the other little brace. Okay, so we're going to start with the 15 hiding behind that O2 sensor there. We're going to just tighten that down really good and tight. Right there is good. Now we're going to go ahead and snug these up. And this anti-seize is really messy. That's the only downside to it. It does the job, but it is really messy. Now, like I said, you may want to replace, you can get these at the parts stores, get you a gasket for this if you want to replace yours, or the little ring gasket, and I think they also have just a flat gasket for that top piece, depending on which one you want to use. But you can get them at the parts store if you need to replace yours. Okay, those two are tightened down. We're going to get back here and just finish tightening this. Said I just like to get the catalyst secured and into place before I tighten these down here down. Okay, I'm about to put this little shroud back on. I've got the cap, the filler cap, out of the way there. I've just got to get this harness. Need a zip tie on it. Alright, there we go. That looks better. Okay, and lastly, we're going to get back in here and reconnect our negative. Let's see, we just got to push that down on there good. Like I said, this has a bevel on the screw, and as you tighten it, there's a recess or a countersink on this end, and there's not on the other end, so it's kind of a clever little thing. And as you tighten it down, it just pulls it pulls that piece in, so it gets it nice and tight. But you can break them if you overdo them, so you want to kind of, once you get it tight, you want to kind of quit, because they can be broken. I think I'm going to have to go a little more though. Okay, so that's good. We'll just put our cover back down here. Said the screw for this one's long since been gone, so I pop that piece down first, and then we get this other piece into place here. Alright, and there we have that. Okay, and for the most important part of all, we want to make sure that it's going to work. Alright. It sounds like it's cranking over really good and strong. Okay, that's going to do it on this video on replacing the starter in this 2007 Acadia. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and as always, I invite you to subscribe. Thank you for watching.